Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Rodcast. Today, we're talking about building churches, building small groups that have a heart to reach out. So, I want to ask you, Pastor Rod, why is this important?
Wow. Well, I think everyone who is a believer here today would know somebody that helped you to come to Christ or grow in Christ. So someone's helped us all, right? Someone has helped us. You get in a church, you say, how many came just by yourself? There's a few. How many came through a friend? And hands go up everywhere. And I just think it's just that important. We just need to be an out-facing group because there's people wanting to find Jesus, and he needs our hands and feet and mouth to share. So just the overwhelming evidence is that people come because people share and ask and invite. And it's just that important there's hungry people out there, hurting people out there, and we need to be an out-facing group rather than just a inward-faced group for the kingdom of God and for people that we love. And someone once said, it's true, I think it's true, that if the love of God means anything, it means that there's room for one more in our group. You know, that attitude, there's always room for one more, and of course, 2, 10 more. But the concept that if ever we get closed, something has gone wrong. You know, if ever we're just now the closed group. And I've seen groups like that. And I've also seen them implode after time, if it's just the same group over many, many years. It just gets a little bit too tight. So new people make a dramatic impact on a small group, a volunteer team, or a church. It's actually God's way. And if we look at the parables and Jesus, leave the 99 and go and get the one. The importance of the one is very, very important in this whole discussion here today. It really is going to come back to this, that we must love the 99 but reach the one. And I think that is a huge call for any church today.
Why is it that, because this sounds so good, this sounds so attractive, and we all recognize that we were the one at one point. But why is it that some churches or some groups end up not doing this?
Wow, that's a really hard question. I think it comes down to the vision of the senior pastor or the senior leaders. And sometimes it's theology, like, God will bring them when he wants to. That's a theology.
Okay.
But if that had been the case, I don't know who would have helped me. So I think there can be a theology of God will bring them, God will save them. But in reality, people need people. And so one is a theology. I think another whole other end of the spectrum is I think people are weary. And I was talking to my wife the other day about this, about why some churches stop reaching out. And she just said, I just think they're weary. And when she said that, I thought, that is so true. So therefore, if that is true, what does that mean? It means that we've actually tried so many things and haven't been that successful. We've done all the things we should have done. We've prayed and we've reached and we haven't got much fruit at all. And there's just a general weariness in reaching out. And I would like to say, as a person I believe who has a evangelistic gift in my life, is I understand that. I totally understand it. And the answer is that we actually see models that will fit us, there's a fit of who we could reach and how, and start doing that, which should be fun. And over time, we start being fruitful again. I think it will solve the problem of weariness, because just one soul getting saved, changed life, I'll say it again, can affect a small group, a serving team, or a whole church. One person, it actually has this impact. And so the weariness factor is real. And I think weariness in the light of the current, cultural issues being raised, and people are scared to say things, and what'll they think? And I get it all. But when we actually see someone hungry and asking questions and changed, it changes us. So the answer for weariness is good, fruitful, evangelistic, attempts, trying to reach out again. And I just think online, by the way, right now has given us a huge new opportunity, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or advertising for something, advertising alpha or whatever it is, and see one person come in, and one hungry person can change. But if we're weary and too weary and we're not willing to try new things, I just think it becomes the norm of a church that then becomes very much um, please stay. Now, I have a friend in Indonesia. I know you know him very well, Paulos Wiratno, who's an apostle who's helped plant 1,500 churches in Indonesia. Very unusual friend to have. And he talks about 3 types of churches, and this might be a bit confronting, but this is from him, not me, okay? I'm just passing it on. But he says there's 3 types of churches, and the key phrase is either please stay, please come, or let's go. And the please stay churches are in trouble because they're saying to people, please stay, please don't go. They've probably got very weary. We're not talking about bad people, but they're actually tired, and it's like, please stay because we need you to stay. The please come are trying to win people from other churches. They're trying to market to other Christians and saying we have a better church experience. But no new people are getting saved in that. Now, it might be a better opportunity for discipleship, which would lead to outreach. I get that. But the please come is actually transfer growth. That is the major model. And the third one is let's go, is let's mobilize the church that we are healthy and happy, and now we're able to reach out, and we're going to go and do something in the world. I don't mean all leave the church space, but their hearts are now, let's go. I thought that was pretty interesting. He said it came from some teacher, I think in Australia, I don't know, but I thought it was a pretty interesting concept that it comes back to the key vision of the leadership team. And again, let me say that weariness, I don't think is how can I say it, not a sinful issue. It's just a life issue. And I think Jesus touches on this when he says to his disciples in Luke 10, he says, when you go and people reject you, wipe the dust from your feet and keep going. So Jesus doesn't deny the issue of weariness, but he does talk about what to do with weariness, like wipe the dust off your feet, get together, get some ideas, get replenished, and go find some new people. So weariness is a huge thing right now, but that weariness, I believe we can help. I do believe we can help that issue. In fact, when I go around the world and I'm asked to speak about what we do in Japan, I've got to speak to this issue. I actually have to bring it up and talk about it. I may not use that word weariness, but I'm talking to the concept that we've been fruitless for a long time in reaching out. What do we do? And it's a bit awkward because when you're weary, you don't really want to be challenged in this area. It's like, oh yeah. But we tried that, and oh no, not that again. But I've got to try and, with God's help, spark the concept of new thoughts and new outreach. And when we actually get down to that discussion and they say, well, you actually mean it could be fun? I say, yeah. Then actually, I think weariness can start to, because we're now moving on from past hurt and past failure. There's another thing that weariness can do, and it actually can make people very super spiritual, because sometimes here in Japan, people have been without fruit for a long, long time, and these are good people. So zealous, good believers. Okay, let's get that straight. But they're in a situation where they just can't reach out, and that's a very hard situation when your group is actually ceased to reach out. And I just say to them, thank you for praying with us. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you. So it's not judgment. It's saying thank you. But, if we just adjusted something here, I think you could be fruitful again. But sometimes people get mystical and say things like, God has hardened the hearts of Japanese, which is wrong. That's just what the devil would say. That's the wrong conclusion. So out of all this evidence, I'm now making a conclusion that's mystical, that it must be the people. And I would say to anyone in the world, we can't blame the people. We have to be able to look for a fruitful, engaging, satisfying, fun way to reach some over time. Well, that's a long sentence. And so we're able to help church after church here in Japan being fruitful. We're just helping a bunch of wonderful Singaporean churches right now in that, and they're being really fruitful. They're really seeing people saved and baptized, and we rejoice. So I think we can help. I think we can help the issue of weariness, but it's going to take people waking up and saying, really, could we? Could we engage on that? Could we talk about that? Or I don't like that, or I've tried that. And it's going to take this engagement and then trying things and actually seeing someone saved, which again will change weariness back to excitement, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like also there is a kind of a pull towards the like facing inwards because it's comfortable. Like it's easier to talk to all the friends that you know in your connect
Yeah,
group or in your Sunday service versus
yeah,
going up and introducing yourself to the stranger who's by themselves. Like
yeah,
like no one would say that they're more comfortable with the stranger than a good friend, and
sure.
so it it seems like without leadership that is inspiring us out, I also feel like we default to inwards because
Yeah.
it's just more comfortable.
Yeah, it's humanity, isn't it? We love family, we love friends, we come to church
Mm.
for friends and for fellowship, absolutely. But you're right, it's about leadership saying, inspiring the people to say, if the love of God means anything, it means there's room for one more. I mean,
Mm.
that statement is a philosophy.
Yeah.
It's like saying, yeah, be friends with your friends. You're going to have lunch with them, or you're going to be with them, but why don't you take this opportunity to reach out to someone new? And it can be very rewarding, of course. So when people do that consistently, it's like, wow, there actually is a lot of people, or there are different people I could help. It does become exciting. But with a small group, I've heard this because I got saved in 1979 when I was 19, and immediately, I was already in a small group before I was saved, right? Basically, and I love small groups, but I've also seen small groups that are, someone described it as us four, no more, close the door. And I want to say it has a lifespan. People say, oh, we'll be like best buds forever. But actually, that group, and I'm not talking about a family unit, but that concept, um, it probably has a use by date. You very rarely are you friends with someone after 10 or 20 years. It can happen, but usually it's in and out, up and down, the friendships at that length. So if that's the concept, at some point someone's going to say, I'm too busy, I can't come. And then all of a sudden you have three. Another one says, well, I'm not feeling well, you have two. Like it actually goes down. It doesn't go up. So that us four no more close the door concept is your maximum. Now that could be
Mm.
maxed out at any level. But if that's it and there's no new infusion of fresh people and fresh ideas, it will go towards something very, very unusual in the end. Um, I'm sorry, that's my experience over 43 years of living in 50 nations and seeing leadership right across the world and seeing a lot of these things. So, what's the option? Then we're praying for someone to join the group. So, there's nothing wrong with a group of four, but that group of four must have this concept that we're here also to pray for our world. Could be Auntie Joan, or could be Fred next door, or but someone we're praying out. We're actually now saying, well, this is great. Wouldn't it be great to bring someone to this? And that changes a lot. I think it brings a lot of health. Um, so even in a small group or any group that becomes fixed, that one person that comes in could change a lot of things. Here at Lifehouse, I see this all the time. That when a group gets a new person, they start sparking. This new person came in, and this happened and they said that. Who's Jesus, or what that, or where's the book of Mark, or something, and everyone's jumping in and, oh, it's here. And there's actually excitement. Or
Mm.
at the barbecue, and someone brings their husband, and he's not a believer, but he's having a great time. And, oh, look, there's Jerry. He's a great guy. Let's get to know him. And so there's this huge excitement, I think, when there's people awakening to Jesus, and we are there. And again, let me talk about those three parables Jesus talks about in Luke chapter 15, the parable of the missing sheep, the parable of the missing coin, the parable of the missing son. In all three parables, Jesus says, when they were found, there was joy. And they said to their neighbors, look, let's rejoice. In 3 out of 3 parables of search, there's 3 out of 3 joyful experiences. And I just think this is the awakening of evangelism and reaching out again, is that when people find Jesus, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. So we've got to enable that experience more and more. But I do think we have to, as leaders, help people nicely to face outwards.
Mm-hmm.
In one of our campuses, this, in the last few months, I've spent a lot of time, and it's a campus that could actually get new people coming in, and from different religious backgrounds, and it's pretty exciting. But the church wasn't actually growing. And over time, I saw that the key leaders were seeing each other on Wednesday night, but also on Sunday. They sort of were together a lot. And I said, hey, you're all friends. You love each other. You're probably going to have lunch together. But after church, why don't you all face outwards? Why don't you all face it just for 10, 15 minutes? Would you do that? And over time, at first it was like, oh, but we're friends. Yeah. You're going to be friends. But and over a period of time, the level of fellowship out changed. And all of a sudden that church is in a whole nother level of growth, because the people that were coming are engaged to, like, with joy and genuinely invited to events. And it does take time, but there is the excitement now of the key team saying, hey, look what's happening. We're growing and we're still friends. Like, nothing changed our friendship, but look at what's happening. And I think that revolution of helping people face out, realizing they're not going to lose friendship. Church will be full of friends, but we can reach some more people at the same time.
I mean, what you're kind of talking about there is like a leader unlocking something, for good people, but maybe they don't know what to do, and you've given them some strategy, but people's heart were good in this situation. I know what you're talking about, and but you saw what was happening, and you brought something, and I think that's a big thing, that a leader can bring that change.
And we even talked about very practical things in that situation, of things like the duration of the service. How do we finish? Like, how do we create fellowship? It's not manipulation. It's just creating human warmth. And it actually was very simple. We actually changed a room too, like the entrance and thing where people come in and go out. These are very practical things, but around the concept of how would the lost sheep or the missing sheep view this? Because if I'm visiting a church and at the end everyone's just talking and I'm on the back and no one's talking to me, if I'm looking for a church, I probably won't stay there. If I'm not a believer, I would say, oh, you have to be an insider. So when you look through the eyes of an unbeliever or a new person, it changes a lot of things. You start seeing, we don't use car parking very much in our churches, because we are train-based societies or motorbike-based societies. But obviously churches that are car-based, they've got to look from the car park on. But we don't. So we look from the front door on. But through seeing the experience through the eyes of non-Christians. So now that we're not a please stay and we're not a please come, we're a let's go. Because whoever's going to experience something of church today, hopefully they'll experience the goodness of God. My good friend, Pastor Chris Hodges, has a saying, and I love it. He says, Wouldn't it be sad for people to come and visit church and only find us? So we have to give them an experience of Jesus. Jesus' love, Jesus' acceptance, Jesus' goodness. Like they're coming and they're actually, yes, we've got a few excellent things happening and whatever, but we're actually excited to meet people. We're over our weariness and we're back into the excitement of meeting people and making an experience for people. Then it changes a lot of things. And so that church I'm thinking of right now, like we're still working through that, but let me say, everyone was a good person,
Mm-hmm.
but it just took like, oh, okay. And then there's more lunches with new people and coffees with new people. And then the reports start coming back about, wow, I've made some new friends and they want to do Alpha now, or they're receiving Jesus, or they want to be baptized, or with baby dedication, or like there's actually the excitement of the community blessing them and realizing that our Christian faith really is a blessing to a lot of people. Even if they don't understand Jesus, we can help them a lot. So you're hearing me talk about the fun, the excitement,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reward for this. And
Yeah.
again, that's what Jesus' parables were. Is, oh, look at my sheep. I brought my sheep back, or I found my coin, or my son is back. There's that, yay. It overcomes weariness. And there's been times in our church where we've been fruitless or lacked fruit, and we've had to go back and talk and what could we change. But there's an excitement that we will find a solution, and it takes time, it takes effort, but then it starts. Wow, what's happening? This, and I think that's when a church really realizes that this outward focus, I've lost nothing, but I've gained something great, will
Mm-hmm.
happen.
We've just finished having some great discussions with our young adults here in Hong Kong, and they've got a really great community. It's like the strongest it's ever been, and they really pull in new people. So they're doing really good with that, and they're inviting new people really well. And after the service, they're got a great community that's pulling them in well. But they're young people and they're free all Sunday. They just want to be together like the whole day. And so we've been talking about, well, how can you use that time even to maybe not just be hanging out, but like hang out and go reach some people. What could that look like? Could that like go to the park and
Yeah,
invite people into games or basketball
yeah.
courts and play with
Mm,
people and
mm.
like that same community, but there's a missional aspect to it.
That's
Even though
great.
they are bringing in new people from the
Yeah,
service and things like that, but even more so if you've got the time, like get out there on the street like that. I love those years of my life. Like
yeah.
that I
We
treasure those years.
we've discovered this thing called spike ball. Have you played that at all?
Yeah,
Spike ball.
yeah, a little bit, but we need to get back into that. We've been talking
Okay.
about that.
Well, we've just discovered on the streets of Tokyo, you can just set it up in a corner or a little park, and 3, 4 guys or girls start playing. It's a lot of fun. People are laughing, people are watching, and then, hey, come and join us. And I know that doesn't work in every country, but I think it will work in a lot of countries where
Mm,
people are watching you have fun and you say, we're just going to just come and join us. And then afterwards, I say, who are you? And so we can, lunch, coffee, just let's go to the little convenience store and here in Japan, get an egg sandwich, which is delicious. $1 we can, and so just creating fun out of nothing.
yeah.
And then recently, my son Monty came back from America with a volleyball net that you could just set up anywhere. And just last Saturday, they did just a park day with a few young adults. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe 10, 15. And he said that volleyball net was used solidly for 4 hours. Now, that doesn't mean one person's playing 4 hours, but it's a rotational game.
Yeah.
And you're sitting with people, but then you're sitting with others and talking on this side of this. And he said it was just amazing. They didn't have to ask anyone who wants to play volleyball. Everyone was just up for it. And it wasn't that serious. You weren't trying to spike and hurt someone with the
Hmm.
ball. But he said it was just so easy to talk to people and people around us. I think we even tried this in Hawaii a number of years ago with the same result. And So it's just creating moments, of joy and fun. And even if no one joins us, we still had fun. And I think that's a big part of our let's go attitude, that even if no one else came, we had fun and we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Um, that's huge, actually. Would you agree with that? I think when you start, like, you're not seeing many new people.
Yeah.
So what's the motivation for keep going? Fun. We're just going to enjoy each other, but have the outward concept that if someone brings their friend or someone in the park wants to join, come and join. When we do kids' days in parks and we're playing with a balloon, or not we, but kids, and a balloon machine, or like a blow up balloon, or a little ball, or other kids start joining in, and our parents are so warm to their parents, come and join us, and we're not trying to like get them into church, but we do want to befriend them and hopefully one day tell them about Jesus. That would be great. So these are very natural ways to meet people. I think the key problem, Richard, actually is when we say to people in church, bring your friend to Easter or something, most Christians say, well, I don't have any other friends than those here
Mm.
in the church. So I think our role as leaders is to create events where people can be friendly
Yeah.
and actually make friends. But get ready when you invite friends, because there's going to be some other things happen. Maybe their language is different, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's our event. If it's our event, we can hold the environment of goodness. But I just think there's so many ways right now. People are lonely. People are alone. People are looking for friendship, and we have the most funnest people in Hong Kong or Tokyo, right?
And fun is so good for a number of reasons. Like, one is, I think it's the magnet that brings people in. If you have people laughing, and everyone wants to know what's going
Yeah,
on with the laughing group,
yeah,
with the fun group. So
right.
fun is a great magnet, but I also think it brings the sustainability to something, like, cuz
Yeah,
if it's just hard work and not enjoyable, how long can you keep that up?
yeah. It's not
It
sustainable. Yeah,
it's not. So fun brings a sustainability to it. I think the other one is, if it's just fun but it's not fruitful, that also has a time limit,
sure.
because people want to, be contributing to something that it's actually working.
Yeah,
So if it is just purely a fun community, yeah, I mean, you can find that in the world. You could join
sure.
a sports club or something like that.
Yep,
So
yep.
I feel
But
like those
again,
two, but
I
that might fruitfulness might take a while
yeah.
at the beginning while you're learning or developing your strategy.
Well, let's talk about that, because we lived in Japan here for 20 years, and we've seen thousands of Japanese find Jesus Christ as their Lord, and it's been a great joy. But very few of them have been fast
Yeah.
decisions. Most have been long term friendships, but that's okay, because that's what we're doing. We're making friends. And we've tried to help some other churches here. And they say, what are you doing? We say, well, we meet people. And they'll try one event and no one comes, and they'll say, oh, it didn't work. And I say, well, that wouldn't work for us either. Because it's not about one event. It's about creating um, joy, fun events, but then we're actually linking into eating together, um, connection online, Instagram, whatever, and then inviting them to something that they want to come to. It takes time, but it's okay, because they're our friend. I keep saying that to everyone. It's okay because they're our friends. So when we talk to churches and say, try it, sometimes they do it once and it doesn't work. And I say, well, if we do it once, it doesn't work too, because we're trying to make friends, and friends are long term. So we know this and we're happy with this. So we don't get tired. Now, over a long period, of course, that's different. We would have to say, well, is this working?
Mm.
But I do believe it's about making genuine friendships. Now, there is an exception. When Jesus sent the disciples out, he said, go and pray for the sick, go and eat with them and pray for them. And I think a lot of people we do meet and have lunch with, and they start talking about their life. I think food is really important, because they'll start talking about their job or whatever. And we can say, well, can we pray about that? I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and That's the bridge that I think we have to help people to be confident in, because most people say, should I have offered to pray at that point? And my answer is, yeah, but do it like normally, like don't do
Mm,
anything weird. Just say, hey, trouble in your job, could I just pray? And he'll say, what's that? I say, I just ask God to help you. Would that be okay? So explaining the simplicity of prayer. You don't need a ceremony. It's not going to be embarrassing or loud or like I'm just going to pray for you. Would that be okay? So I think there needs to be short bridges that we help people with. Um, or hey, listen, we're having an alpha, which means just talking about who is Jesus and what is the Bible. It's a really short video. Would you like to come with me and be my friend? So we have to have the confidence to bridge it, make a bridge into something that actually helps them emotionally, spiritually, mentally, some benefit of Jesus Christ into their life at that point. I think this is a weakness that we need to help people. And the other one is sharing a testimony. I do think we need to get good at answering this question. Why am I a believer? What did Jesus do for me? And it's got to be a really simple answer and a human answer, such as I made new friends, or my marriage got better, or it helped me with my finance, or I feel healthier, I'm sleeping better. Some benefit that Jesus has brought to your life, really, that you're just able to say, well, this is why I believe.
mm.
Because a lot of people have got a lot of problems with faith and doctrine, but it's very hard to argue with just a new friend saying, well, this is why I believe. It just helps me. And really? So we actually have to help these little bridges to a making our friends like, would that be of interest to you? Could you come? Like, and that's where I think we'll start seeing fruit. Because even here in the last year in Tokyo, we had a lot of making hundreds of friends, but very few were coming to church. And we just said to our leaders, don't get heavy ever, but why don't you just say to them, hey, you've enjoyed this time. We've also got these options. Got this karaoke group and this sports group and church. You ever been to church or ever seen a church that has new music? Whatever it is, options. And people might say, oh no, not really, but yeah, you could tell me if something's coming up. And then Easter's coming up or Mother's Day, and we say, hey, would you like to come? And so, yes, we do need to bridge it back to spiritual, emotional, benefit of Jesus. It's called the good news, all right? It's called the good news of Jesus. And sometimes miracles happen, such as healing, freedom, praying for someone, and they say, you won't believe what happened in my job. I just got better this week. And so, you know, the benefit of telling people about the goodness of God, I think we do have to say that at some point, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And I think sometimes maybe we can run great events and get lots of new people there, and that that does feel like a win. I mean, just getting at the beginning is just to be able to meet new people. Like that's the first hurdle. But then I've also seen times where even those events can maybe people are not giving a clear ask or a clear invitation to the next
Yep.
step. And I don't mean a pushy one, but
No,
it's just
no.
they've just been running an awesome event, but
Yeah.
it's not going to translate into fruit until there is
Mm.
just a friendly invitation
Yeah,
that's clear.
absolutely. And a friendly explanation.
Hmm.
Um, I remember being back in Toowoomba as a pastor, and we would say to our church, "Why don't you do barbecues and just invite neighbours?" And the number one question that came back from our people was, "Well, what if they bring their 6-pack or their 12-pack of beer?" It was actually a real question. It was a good question, and we had to answer that question by saying, "Well, you've got your house rules. You know, um, you could either say it's just the way we are with our family, but don't blame it on Jesus. All right, don't say Jesus doesn't like your beer, which is not a biblical thing to say. I don't think Jesus really cares that much with a little bit, but we could talk about that on another. I just
Sure.
maybe open up a. But the point
Big
is,
one.
we need to also explain to our neighbours, hey, we've got kids there. Please don't like overly use alcohol. I don't
Mhm.
think many Aussies would object to that little explanation.
Sure.
So I just think explanation in church, explanation in we take and bring it to an alpha group. Let's say, hey, listen, it's going to go for 20 minutes. There'll be a question, there'll be a video, and then we'll have discussion. Okay, or church, we're going to run for 1 hour. There's going to be music, so you're actually explaining beforehand, so that people are not wondering what to do or what sort of clothes should I come or what like just hey, just as we're now jeans and shorts is all good, and we're gonna do a bit of singing. It's gonna be on the screen. You can sing or not sing, no problem. I just think explanation through the event is also really important. Hey, you're coming to our house for a barbecue just for a couple of hours. We're gonna do this, and you're gonna meet some people from my church. So they might talk churchy stuff. Is that okay? So you're actually like explaining what you're coming into, and likewise, as sport events, hey, there's going to be nothing churchy except we're just going to encourage you and invite you to church after it. Would that be okay? So clear explanation of what it is and what it's not, I think, relieves tension for
Hmm.
people to actually come and actually be open to something else.
And I think like honesty in that is very important. Like I know
Yeah,
that would never be intentionally dishonest, but I think if it's if it's a sporting event, if that's what we're promoting, it needs to be that. It can't be a Bible study.
absolutely. Yeah,
In marketing they call that bait and switch, where you bait someone in and then you switch it, give them something else. It's like if you
sure.
do that in church life, you'll get them once and you'll never get them
Yeah,
again, because no one
yeah.
likes that approach. And so I think there
The
can be strong invitation from a
Yeah. Well,
basketball event or
what we do in our Bali church, we do a lot of invitation to, like, we're going to teach you guitar or this or that, and we do it. It's about guitar, but at the end we say, hey, we're going to have dinner now with some other church friends. Would you want to come? It is going to be
Mhm.
maybe some discussion about God, but you don't have to be a believer. But so there is that quick. You do the same thing. We're finishing this now. We
Yep.
did what we said we were going to do, but we're going to change the environment to something church oriented or an alpha. This is what it is. Would you like to join us, or you can leave? And in our Bali church, a lot of people stay for a few minutes and then they leave after the change. And you know what? I think that's totally normal. And I say to our team that don't worry, you're going to
Yeah.
see them again next week. So it's not like they rejected you or Jesus. They're just now in a very uncomfortable situation. But we're friends. It's all okay. So then we see those people again. And again, I think we need to understand that the visitor's heart and mind is they don't understand. And we just have to lower the tension. It's going to be okay. You can go and get your kids. You can go and do this. It's all okay. And but they're in our fellowship for some season. It's great, and God can really touch them.
Mm. Yeah, we do that a lot with things like language classes or whatever before a service. Is we've got to provide the language exchange or the class or whatever it is. But then that's finished, and would you like to stick around to come to this? No worries if not, but here's an opportunity, here's an invite, and no one ever gets upset by that. A lot of people don't take it, and a lot of people do. So
Yeah,
just depends on the week. It's so random.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think just because they're our friends, it doesn't matter. Like
mhm,
whatever happens, is like
mhm,
they're our friends. We'll talk
mhm,
to them again, or we genuinely love them. Is the key.
mhm.
We are friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you can't be too over invested on that invitation, even though, of course, we want them to
yeah.
come. It's like if they feel like you're really disappointed in them because they said no, like that's not going to work.
No,
Uh,
as Jesus
yeah.
said, go and eat with them. I think it's a great evangelistic concept.
Mhm.
Let's eat with people. I remember being in a Islamic country, and I went to a halal restaurant where they had um, delicious Muslim food, and I was with my Muslim friend, and he didn't want me to share Jesus with him. I said, "That's fine, no problem." I said, "Could I come to your restaurant with you?" He said, "But you're a Christian and I'm a Muslim." I said, "Hey, we're brothers." And so I went. And I ate, and it was just so much fun. And I had the curry. I had to eat with your hands. I had curry running off my elbows because I wasn't very good at eating with my fingers. And he was laughing. His friends are laughing. I'm laughing. I said, "I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Please understand. I'm not trying." And we went back, and we sat down in a room, and we were sharing um, a dormitory for a week. We're both trying to get a visa renewal at that time, and we just dorm share. And as soon as we got back, he said, "You know what, Rod?" He said, "That was so much fun. Would you could share your Jesus with me now?" And it was just the most incredible experience of just the joy of on being on his turf and enjoying his world. And then he said, "You can share now." And he didn't receive Jesus in that meeting, but I've prayed for him ever since. That was about 30 years ago. I believe he could get saved, and because he's my friend, we were friends. And but again, the importance of eating with people and sharing a meal, and then offering prayer. Or in America recently, I was at someone there from an Indian background, and they said, "Well, I want to share with my not yet Christian friends, but they're not happy for me to share anything Christian." And I say, "Well, they're in your house. Can you just say, 'Could I give thanks for the food,' and pray for like 5 seconds? Like, 'Dear Jesus, thank you for the blessings and the food. Amen.'" And she said, "That's not a problem." And I realized that she was trying to pray a long prayer as evangelism.
Mm.
And I said, "That's not going to work." I said, "People are not interested in prayer right there. They're interested in food." So it's being appropriate, isn't it? Like teaching, just make it easy, simple. Our Christian life is like that. And then she said, it was amazing. Yeah, that was not a problem. So she was thinking it's a problem, but it wasn't a problem as long as it was explained and appropriate. So eating with people, enjoying people, and then looking for opportunities to pray for needs. So again, this is all just facing outwards. We started this by saying, let's not be churches that are please stay or please come to Christians, but we're going to say, let's go and help change our world. It's so much fun.
Cool. Well, maybe to wrap it up, any final concepts or encouragement to church leaders, small group leaders?
Again, Jesus said, if someone rejects you, wipe the dust from your feet. And I just would like to say, you can do that in prayer, and I'll do it right now because we do this often. I say to my team, let's just pray that we can wipe away disappointments, and let's believe to reach someone this week. And often it happens. So I'd like to pray for that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Lord, that you're giving us new friends. And I just pray for that experience of eating with people and praying with people. But Lord, I pray you'd also help us wipe the dust from our feet and even from our heart, that we're weary and tired. But Lord, give us a new excitement for a new generation, that you can use us in a wonderful way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Rod, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode with Pastor Rod, why don't you subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to this, and we'll see you next time.